consumers. So the substation, it gets some power, incoming power. Maybe it have a generation or it is connected to a grid. And from there, either transmission lines or service means comes out and supply to the consumer. Here we assume that if feeders are coming out from the substation. So feeders means actually the transmission lines. Transmission lines and feeders are same thing. When we discuss about protection, then we do not tell them transmission line but feeders. So this is an isolated substation. Why isolated? Because it is not connected to grid. So stability or all other issues will not be intervened by grid. Or grid, on the contrary, grid will not be disturbed by this substation. B represents the breaker. Why breakers are there? Breakers are there for the protection purpose. So if there are any issue in generator, then this side will be disconnected. Otherwise, if in this line, then this breaker will operate, or in this line, then this breaker will be operated. Then in this way, the faulty section may be disconnected, right? Now, say generally fault does not occur in bus. Fault generally occur in the connections, maybe in transmission line on this part or in this part. So if it is near to that bus, then what will be the fault current and what will be the fault MVA? Depending on that, rating of these breakers will be selected. So fault current, if we assume the fault at this bus or this node, then fault current will be same. So fault MVA will be same for all these 3 points. So breaker will be of same capacity, maybe S MVA, like that. So if we assume that uh, now the capacity of the system has been increased, okay. Capacity of the system has been increased means that here the loads are been increased on the transmission lines, it's receiving end part of the transmission line. Then obviously this generator will be incapable to supply that one. So for that reason, it may be required to it is required to enhance generation to supply that increased load. So for that reason, it may be done that our we can add another generator there. Then or we can you connect this generator, connect this system with the grid through a transformer. Why transformer? If the voltage of generator and transformer are not matching, generally it does not match. If substation voltage and grid voltage are not same, so that is required. Please come in time. I shall not give any more admission. So for that reason, now the system is like that, like this 11 figure 11b, so that enhanced load can be catered by the required power generation taken from the grid. So when grid is connected, then what will be the equivalent circuit? So actually, if I draw, I have not given here, it is purposefully. So it is like a generator. This is the generator equivalent circuit. Say this is generator EG. Then this is the transformer of the grid, and this is the grid, say GR. So this will be the equivalent circuit, and fault is here. The system is like this. If we assume fault at that bus, in this way we should analyze. Please come in time. Then, if we want to find out what will be the fault current, here one generator was in the circuit. Now another generator or generator type thing in parallel. So obviously the current will be increased. Some more current will be added. So fault current will increase. So for that reason, fault MVA will be increased. So if fault MVA is increased, then that enhanced value of fault in MVA may be beyond the circuit breaker capacity. And if it is beyond the circuit breaker capacity, then the breaker will not be able to protect the system, because the breaker will be disturbed in that case, because if the MVA short circuit MVA become more than the breaker rating. So in that case, to limit that current, actually a reactor is introduced in between the grid, incoming grid and the system. Why? Because this reactor will be in series with this transformer reactance. So actually it will limit the incoming current, and it will help to equate the short circuit MVA of the breaker to be equal to the limiting value of the short circuit capacity, short circuit rating of the bus, right? So in that way, the existing breaker will be able to use even when the grid is connected. So in that way, using actually the reactor, we can enhance the capacity of a substation without replacing its circuit breaker. Because if we replace the circuit breaker, we can do it at any time, but it will be involved with high cost. So it is better to use the old breakers, but with the a reactor. So then that case cost involvement will be lesser as compared to the replacement of all three breakers. So say for isolated substation, when for this isolated substation, there was only one generator in parallel. So the fault MVA will be 1 by Xg. Fault current will be 1 by Xg per unit. Pre-fault bus voltage is 1 per unit. So fault MVA in per unit will be same as the fault MVA fault current. So it is 1 by Xg per unit. Now we have to select the circuit breaker in such a way it should be more than fault MVA of that bus. So if the circuit breaker rating is S suffix B, then it should be more than the rating of the fault MVA of the system. Now, when grid is connected to the substation, say this second case, grid is connected to the substation, then there are two parallel paths, right? Then what will be the total current? 1 by Xg plus 1 by St, right? So it may happen, we do not know the values because we do not know the numerical values, but if this value SF2 is less than this SB, then existing circuit breaker will work. But if it is not, then the existing circuit breaker will be in danger. So it does not fall in the range of existing circuit breaker. So in that case, actually there is a pressure or there is a risk for the circuit breakers. That's why we add one reactor here. Then if we add the reactor, then what will happen? In the parallel path, it is 1 by xg plus 1 by xt plus x. So 1 by xt plus x. So this value may be sufficient that in that case SF3 will be equal to the circuit breaker rating. So SB may be more than SF3 or SB equal to SF3 and the limiting condition. So in that case, we can find out the value of x. So if we know the other values, then this numerical variation is derivation, we can find out what will be the value of x. You have no need to memorize the formula. If you can calculate the fault current, you can readily calculate that one. Now, if now let us discuss it through an example. So, say this is a substation, this much, right? Sorry. This much is the substation without reactor. This much is the substation. So this is a substation where there are two generators and there are feeders, right? Now these are the enhanced capacity. Capacity of the plant has been increased. For that reason, we need a supply from grid through this transformer. Bus voltage is given 3.3 kV. Now circuit breaker is selected as 150 MVA. Obviously, based on the fault MVA, it has been selected. Now it is to inquire, it is to find out whether the existing circuit breaker will be sufficient along with the incoming grid in absence of reactance, or what will be the value of reactance if we want to use the existing circuit breaker, right? You must interrupt me if you do not understand. So let us assume base MVA 10. Why base MVA 10? Because maximum MVA is 10. Then let us change the generators X as at first, according to the formula per unit conversion. Then total reactance of the session without grid. They are in parallel. So this is the reactance. So 1 upon this reactance will be the fault current. So fault current is 11.45 in per unit. So fault for MVA will be that 11.45 per unit, because the B fault bus voltage is 1 per unit. So it come 114.54 MVA. So any breaker more than 114.54 MVA will be sufficient to protect this circuit. So it is selected as 150 MVA. So there it has given some allowance, that this allowance is given always for the further load increment. Now let us check with this introduction of this new generation, or from the grid side, whether the existing uh, breakers can withstand or not. Circuit breaker capacity is 150 MVA. It is more than 114.54 MVA, so it is the circuit breaker will be safe, system will be safe. Now, when the grid is connected, grid transformer reactance is 7.5. So it is in 10 MVA, it will not be 100, it will be 10 MVA. So in that case, it is 133.133 MVA. So this much of MVA will be added with this, because these two are in parallel. As current will be added, so MVA will also be added. So total short circuit MVA will be 247, like that. So it is far higher than the 150 MVA. So existing circuit breaker cannot withstand that much of short circuit MVA, right? So in that case, what can we do? We can use the circuit breaker up to 50 MVA, then it will be safe. Otherwise, we can connect a reactor through which the incoming grid will be connected, so that this 133 will be limited to 150 minus 114, right? That means total MVA will be limited to 150 MVA. Then existing circuit breaker can be used. So in that case, short circuit MVA of the grid section with reactor and the system will be this one, 111.45 plus 1 by 0.075 plus x in per unit. So this should be same as 150 MVA in per unit. So 10 MVA is the best. 150 MVA means 15 per unit. So from there, if we equate, we can get the value of x, obviously in per unit, right? Then we have to convert it into ohm. So if we convert it into ohm, bus voltage is 3.3 kV and base MVA is 10 MVA. From there, we can get the value of x in ohm. So if we connect this much of inductor of this much of reactance, then we can safely use the circuit breaker of short circuit with short circuit capacity of 150 MVA, right? So from there, we may calculate the value of inductance also, because whatever we are calculating, that is for 50 Hz frequency. So by dividing it by twice by f, we may get L in ohm, right? So this is one method by which we can use the existing circuit breaker, right? So here in this problem, it's framed in that way that you have to calculate what will be the reactance value to use the old circuit breaker. It may ask that only this system is given and you select a suitable value of the circuit breaker rating, right? In that case, you should calculate 114. Then you must write that any value of any capacity of circuit breaker more than 114.54 will be applicable for this type of problem in this type of substation. So you must round it near to the nearest 10, because generally in multiple of 10 circuit breaker capacities are available. So you make it 120 MVA, right? Understood?
ম্যাম এখানে বলছি সবকটা সার্কিট ব্রেকারেরই কি চেঞ্জ করতে হবে, না অনলি ওই বাসবারের পরের দুটোকে চেঞ্জ করতে হবে?
তোমার বাসে তো ফল্ট হয়েছে, তাহলে বাসের সঙ্গে ওই বাসের প্রোটেকশনের জন্য তো দুদিকে সার্কিট ব্রেকার আছে, তাহলে সবকটাই তো চেঞ্জ করতে হবে।
ওকে ম্যাম।
তুমি তো বাসের ফল্টের জন্য কালেক্ট করছো না, এবার বাসের তো কোন দিকে ফল্ট সেটার জন্য তো শর্ট সার্কিট কারেন্ট চেঞ্জ হবে না, একই থাকবে। যদি নিয়ার টু দা ফল্ট হয়, তাহলে ফল্টটা তোমার যদি এখানে হয়, না দেখতে পারলে বলবে, দেখতে পাচ্ছ তো? ধরো এ পয়েন্টে হয় আর বি পয়েন্টে হয়, তাতে খুব একটা ডিফারেন্স আছে কি?
নো ম্যাম।
তাহলে সবকটা সার্কিট ব্রেকারই এফেক্টেড হবে, তাই সবকটা সার্কিট ব্রেকার রেটিং এক্ষেত্রে চেঞ্জ হবে অথবা একই হবে, রাইট?
ওকে ম্যাম।
So this is the end of the fault calculation. You must try. There may be several type of problem on this short circuit calculations and the calculation of reactors. So only configuration will be different. Why I am telling you to repeatedly this one, because if you do not practice by your own, then you will not try to able to understand where it is series, where it is parallel. Because here say this transformer reactance and the X in series. Why? But these two X's are in parallel. Obviously, they are in parallel. It is correct. It is correct. But why it is in series with this one, not with this? Okay, that you have to identify, and you will be able to identify it with proper concept if you only practice. Otherwise, not. Next is economic load dispatch. I shall not give any more entry. Economic operation of power generating units. What does it mean? Say here, these symbols are symbols of turbines, right? So actually, power generating units, for any type of power generation, there is the cost involvement. Okay, and so that will be reflected when we are supplying to the load. So when we are discussing about economic operation of power generating units, that means in that case, at this stage, we are not considering any transmission system. We are assuming that load is directly connected to the generator and there is no transmission line loss. But this is not the practical thing. Obviously, this will be applicable to an interconnected power system when there will be a more than one transmission lines, and the generation will be scattered as well as load will be scattered. But so this will give you only the preliminary idea about economic load dispatch. Now, cost involvement of each generator is not same, because it depends on generation capacity. Even for two generators having same generation capacity, also the cost involvement is not same, because sometimes loss is more in the path of generating generation process. The loss is more. These things may so many things are there. So for that reason, the economic, where if there be n number of generators, say in a plant means in a power plant, say in the Kolaghat thermal power plant or any plant, when there is n number of generators and it is supplying a load, say P load, then how this load will be shared by each generator, because each generator will generate power depending on the load. So ideally, if we think mathematically, then if there are n number of generators, total load is P load, then so obviously the load per generator will be P load by n, is not it? But that thing was not true. Obviously, generator with higher generation capacity will contribute more. That may be one thing from the mathematical point of view. But if we think about economic aspect, then the generator which can generate power at the minimum cost, that should generate first, or we shall load the generators in that way. because how much a generator will generate, that generator will not decide. Actually, power plant operator will decide, because they will send the prime mover input to the generator to the turbine, right? So they will schedule that one. So actually, this is the one schedule, that is the one plan. Say for a particular load, how much generation will be scheduled to a particular generator. That is economic load dispatch. Why load dispatch then, not generation schedule? It is also called generation schedule, but it is more termed as economic load dispatch, because we are transferring power to the consumer. So it is economic load dispatch. This terminology is mostly used. So what is economic load dispatch? Economic load dispatch is to load the generators uh, for generation economically, so that minimum the generator who will generate power at minimum cost, that will be loaded maximum. So this is the economic load dispatch. Economic issues has also one more term, that is unit commitment. Say you do not have n number of generators. Instead of that, you have m generator, right? M generator, and m is more than n. But at a time, you are planning, or power plant operator is planning to load only n generator. Then it is required to select that n number of generators from the m number of generators. So selection of generators economically from a set of generators to load them economically is called unit commitment, right? So unit commitment selects the unit. Unit means generating unit who will generate power. And economic load dispatch schedule which generator generate how much. I hope the concept of economic load dispatch and economic commitment is clear to you. I think introductory part of any book you will get it. If you do not get unit commitment, then you search in Google. I think that will be sufficient for you. I have written in short here for your understanding what is economic load dispatch and what is economic generation schedule or economic load schedule. Now, here we shall be concentrated on the economic load dispatch. So, economic load dispatch means we shall load the generators economically. So, for that reason, at first we have to know the cost. So, cost for power generations are of two types initially. One is installation cost, another is the running cost. So installation cost is different for different generators, and it is fixed. And running cost, it is varying. It is actually changeable time to time. And one more thing I shall mention here. In economic load dispatch, these generators may be different type. And the modern economic load dispatch, there is solar, wind, along with the thermal, hydro, everything is there. But generally, conventionally, we do economic load dispatch for the thermal power plant, because for hydel power plant, its cost is very minimum, and the modeling for the nuclear power plant, it is different. And nuclear power plant, generally we do not do the economic load dispatch in that way. I have not seen right now. The modeling will be same as the thermal power plant, because generation method is same, only the cost function will be different. So fixed cost, what will be the fixed cost when the plant is running? Then what will be the fixed cost involved with that generation? First is capital investment. That means whatever installation cost one there, on interest depreciation on that, interest on money borrowed, if there be any money borrowed on that, tax paid, labor charge, salary, and other expenses. And this fixed cost does not depend on load. Whatever be the load, this fixed cost will be constant, right? Now another is variable cost. For thermal power plant, variable cost means the cost is which is changing with the generation. Okay, Here, fixed cost not does not means the installation cost. It is means the running cost. Running cost has two parts. Running cost means day-to-day cost for to run a power plant. So variable cost will be dependent on the loading of generator units, and it will be, if the load is more, then for more fuel will be required. Then so the cost will be higher. If the loss is more, then also the cost will vary, and it will depend on daily requirement of load and how they have been purchased, all those. So economic operation of a thermal power plant is depends on the on two costs. One is fuel cost, another is fixed cost. Because when a generator is running, a thermal power generator is running, in that case, every time fuel is required. And there is other fixed cost also, that is interest, depreciation, salary, wages, tax, all those things. So generally, the with the output, if we plot the input curve of the thermal generating units, that means input means the turbine power, output means the generated power, then there is a minimum value, there is a maximum value. Why I am discussing this one? This thing is in your syllabus, how they are varied. You should have that concept. That means you see this variation is like a parabola, and these characteristics is entirely dependent on on the on that particular generator. Okay, we cannot write a definite formula for this cost function, for this input output function. Similarly, this input power from a turbine, that we can convert it into fuel cost, because input power of the turbine depend on the fuel. So how much kg, how much kg of power coal is required to generate a particular megawatt, we know. So we can convert it to fuel cost by multiplying it by the cost of coal per kg in that way. So this curve will also be like parabola, and this will have one minimum and maximum limit for because for generator there is a minimum limit of generation and maximum limit of generation. Now you see cost function of a thermal power generating unit. Why cost function is required? Because we want to find out minimum cost of operation. So we must know the cost function at first, then we shall try to minimize it. So that's why cost function is required. Now cost function for any ith generator, we may differentiate it into three parts: CI1, CI2, CI3, three parts of cost. First one is fixed part of the running cost. Fixed part of the running cost means, that means the everyday cost which is connected to salary, wages, etc. Light bill, everyday cost which we cannot um, uh, we cannot avoid. That will be there whether generation is occurred or not. Next is the fuel cost. Fuel cost will be proportional to the power generation. If we have more power generation, more demand on that day, then more power generation will be there. And if it is less, then less power generation will be there. So it will be proportional to the power generated, right? So if we avoid this proportionality constant, we can write this as beta into I, beta into P. For ith generator, beta I into Pi. Third one is there will be a cost due to the loss also, because when we are supplying power here, there will be some loss. So loss is proportional to the I square. So I square. So I square means actually P by V. Actually in accurately it is S by V. Anyway, approximately it is P by V. So P by V whole square. So it is proportional to P square if we assume the V square is constant. That's why it is proportional to the P square in that way, say as an assumption. So in that case, if we remove this proportionality symbol, then it will be a proportionality constant alpha into P square, right? So total cost function is alpha
Ma'am,
Pi square. Yes.
ম্যাম এখানে এখানে ম্যাম যে ফুয়েল কস্ট যে কার্ভটা, ওটা
হুম
ওটা তো ম্যাম যে লিনিয়ার হওয়ার কথা, মানে ইকুয়েশন ওয়াইজ, বাট আগের যে কার্ভটায় ওটা তো
না
ম্যাম
ফুয়েল
রেক্টাঙ্গুলার
ওটা অ্যাকচুয়ালি ফুয়েল কস্ট না। আমাকে বলতে দাও একটু সেটা,
ওকে
যেহেতু
ম্যাম।
বলে নি তারপরে। So you are telling that due to this BIPI, is not it?
ইয়েস ম্যাম।
Okay. Anyway, so cost due to the line loss is this one. So this is CI alpha I PI square plus beta I PI is gamma I is the cost uh, at hourly cost or daily cost, we may say it is the running cost, right? So this is the cost function, and this is called quadratic cost function because we have taken up to pi square only. But actually it is not a quite quadratic cost function, it is an nth order cost function. Here we are not considering the other part. Now, in the fuel cost curve, it should be linear as you said, but actually fuel cost curve, we term this one in economic load dispatch, but actually this is the running cost. Since the running cost is mainly fuel cost, that's why it is called fuel cost, but actually it is alpha p square plus beta p plus gamma. That's why it is a parabola,
ওকে
not a straight line. Understood? So if
ওকে
in the book or in the paper, there are so many research paper in this topic. If you see, then it is written fuel cost, but and actually more accurately, if you want to write, then it will be the cost function, not the fuel cost or anything. Because if the turbine, if the nozzle of that governor does not work properly, if there is any say nonlinearity there, then one sinusoidal term is also added with this, right? So actually, this is all are not the fuel cost curve. But see, if we calculate different component of this cost function separately, if we know the values, then we shall see that one that fuel cost will be dominating. That's why it is called fuel cost curve. This is the old terminology. And in modern and more specific way, it should be the cost function or cost curve. Now there is another term, the incremental fuel cost. What is that? That is first derivative of cost function with respect to the P. But what is the physical significance? That means if there be any small change in power, then what will be the small change in cost that we can calculate from the incremental fuel cost? Because incremental fuel cost actually giving you the slope of the curve at any point, and that is varying. So if for any small change in P, what will be the small change in C that we can calculate from the incremental fuel cost? That is the physical significance of the incremental fuel cost curve. Why does it? Why it is so important? Because here this is the second order polynomial. If we know the value, we can calculate it very easily. But practically, it will not happen. It is nth order polynomial, so we have to take the help of the numerical methods. So in that case, this incremental fuel cost in some cases give us the good estimation. Now, when we shall find out one economic one condition to operate the plants, operate the units economically, what is the difference between units and plants? In plant means is a power plant. From there, one node will be generated, like this one, right? Say a node which is supplying the load, right? So load is impedance for the example. This is the plant, this may be the plant, and unit means the number of generators are connected to this. Okay, this is the difference between plants and units. I hope you have understood. So now we are actually finding out how those units will be loaded of for a particular load, right? So which conditions it should be satisfied? At first, its cost should be minimum, and second is power balance equations should be satisfied. That means generation should be equal to load plus loss. Here loss is neglected, so generation should be equal to load. Then inequality constant. For every generation, there is a minimum limit, maximum limit. So if our numerical economic load dispatch will be a numerical problem, by mathematics we can solve anything, we can get any value. But when we are applying it to a technical problem, then we have to decide by our judgment that whether this solution is feasible or not. So in that way, if any economic load dispatch problem, by solving that, we get the generations becoming less than the scheduled generation of that particular plan unit, or more than that, then that generation is not feasible. If for this ith generation, the minimum generation is pi min and maximum is pi max. So if economic load dispatch problem solution is suggesting that generation should be less than P minimum for the ith generator, then it will not be physically possible. So that thing should be taken care of when we solve the economic load dispatch problem. So economic load dispatch problem, how we can solve, we can find out, solve using the numerical methods. Now here just classical method, neglecting the transmission line loss, because there is no transmission line. The generate load is connected directly to the plant, and there are n number of generators. So for each generator there is one cost, the running cost, or that is we are calling the fuel cost. So total running cost of the plant will be summation of all individual cost of the generators, and to get the economic operation, total running cost of the generator will be minimum, should be minimum, right? So this is the thing. So we have to minimize this C. So we have to minimize this C, the equation 1. With what condition? Condition in economic operation is called constraint equation. Constraint means the condition or the limitation to solve the problem. What is that? We have to every time verify that summation of total generation must be equal to summation of load. Now this is the equality constant. Equality constant, what the condition that we impose with the equal sign, that is called equality constant. So here summation of generation equal to total load, so it is equality constant. At the same time there is inequality constant, that is all the generation must be within their minimum and maximum limit, right? So we can write this one as minus pi plus loads minus summation of generation plus load equal to phi. We can write it different way also. P load minus summation of pi equal to phi, where phi is a function, right? Function of pi. But why I have written pi as minus? When we apply it for economic load dispatch, this concept, then we must assign in the constant function, we must assign the variable as negative. Otherwise, this problem cannot be solved. So this is from the constant equation, one function we have derived. This is phi. Phi is equal to summation of P load minus summation of generation. This phi is called constraint function. Okay. Then we solve this objective, the job solve this optimization technique. What is the meaning of optimization technique? We want to get the best thing. Optimize means the best thing with the minimum cost. So here actually we are optimizing the running cost of the plant. So there is a method of Lagrangian multiplier technique, where if we want to optimize any function, say here we want to optimize the function C, then we must find out one new function that is called Lagrangian function, where we shall write the cost function, and the constant function will be multiplied by the Lagrangian function, Lagrangian multiplier lambda. This is the Lagrangian function. Then we shall minimize this one. This is one conventional method to optimize one function. Now we can use some computing technique, particles wall optimization, so many optimization, genetic algorithms, so many optimization techniques are there. So in that way, whatever I have taught, tutorial you, that is written here. So in that way, Lagrangian function can be derived. That is actual cost function plus lambda into the equality constant function. So this should be minus variable, because here why with respect to what we are optimizing, we want to get what will be the generation schedule. So what will be the generation of each generator. That's why Pi is the negative, not PL, right? So now first derivative, if we make this first derivative of this 0, then we can get the minimum value of the objective function. This condition is commonly known as the Kohn-Thacker condition of optimality. This is a branch of mathematics. I do not know you had this thing you have covered in your mathematics or not. Anyway, so for ith plant, dl by dpi should be 0. So if for the ith plant, if we apply dl by dpi, if we take first derivative of this, then c is actually c1 plus c2 up to in. Okay, this c is c1 plus c2 plus dot 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 plus ci plus dot 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 plus cn, is not it? Now among these, only this ci will be the function of pi, because no other generator has nothing to do with the generation of ith generator. So this is actually dci by dpi, dc by dpi, partial derivative of c with respect to the generation of ith generator will be equal to the direct derivative of ith generator, cost of ith generator with respect to the generation of ith generator. If you do not understand, you must tell me. And in the second portion, only minus pi is there, is the variable. So there one minus one term will be there. So del ci by del pi minus lambda equal to 0. Del ci by del pi is the only one variable, so it will be dci by dpi, right? So this will be applicable for any generator, right? Let me change this one.
Pload, yeah,
ma'am,
constant one, na?
Pload is constant, obviously.
ম্যাম ওই ল্যাগ্রেঞ্জেসটাকে মিনিমাইজ করার পার্টটা একটু বুঝলাম না, মানে
Say in any differential in differential in the say calculus, if we want to find out minimum value of any function, then what shall we do?
ডেরিভেটিভ ইকুয়ালস টু জিরো।
First derivative will be equal to 0.
ইয়েস ম্যাম,
Right?
ইয়েস
But here, along with that, there is one condition: second derivative should be negative.
ম্যাম, ইয়েস ম্যাম,
Right?
ইয়েস
So
ম্যাম।
here, from there, we are actually calculating. Right? So in that way, from this equation is valid. Can you understand why I have written dc here instead of del? Why I have corrected this one?
নো ম্যাম,
Because partial derivative, because this was a function, c was a function of p1, p2, pi up to pn, right?
ওকে ম্যাম,
Understood?
ইয়েস
But
ম্যাম, ইয়েস ম্যাম, ইয়েস ম্যাম।
when for ci, it is only a function of pi. So there is no need to write the partial derivative. Partial derivative, say for y is a function of x, then we can write dy dx. There is no need to write del y del x for that reason. Now in that way, if you see that this is for the variation, this is applicable for any generator, right? So for any generator, we can write this one. So here also, actually, this is a typographical error. I have made this. I have copied and pasted. It is better to write one more line here. Then it will be clear to you. Then so this is lambda equal to dci by tpi, and that is applicable for any generator. So actually for every generator we can write these equations, right? So you know now dci by dpi, this is a dc1 by dp1, this is the function of p1 only. So how many equations we can form from here? If we equate every generator equations with
N
lambda,
equations.
then we can get the n equations, right? But with that n equations we cannot solve, because here we have that n plus number of variables, because n number of p and there is a lambda is also unknown, right? So we need one more equation. So we have one more equation in our hand, that is summation of generation equal
Generators
to
equal
summation
to
of
load.
load. Yes, so there will be n plus one number of equations, n plus one number of unknowns. So we can solve it. In your class, we shall solve up to 3 generators, because that can be solved in hand. But by computer programming, we can solve it for n number of generators. But for higher number of generators, higher number of complications, we use the not this conventional one, because conventional one, it is very difficult to program. In that case, we use method of the soft computing technique, like particle swarm optimizations and others. Anyway, so now, so using this n plus one number of equations, n plus one number of variables, we can get the values. Some values we get. Now only obtaining the values are not sufficient. We have to just judge that whether these values are correct or not. Now after solution, if we get that some power generations are not within the limit, so it is either less than the power generation scheduled, maximum power generation less than the minimum power generation scheduled, or more than maximum power generation scheduled, then we cannot take that solution, because that solution will not be feasible. In that case, we have to search for new solutions, right? Why? How? Say here, say within this n number of generators, say for ith generation, you are getting the solution less than pi mean, right? So less than pi mean is not possible. But this economics, this load dispatch problem solution is suggesting that we can get the minimum cost if this pi generation of the ith generator should be less than pi mean. But it will not be possible. What we shall do that in that case, we shall make this generation of pi equal to pi mean, because it is suggesting it should be less than minimum, but less than minimum we cannot go. So we shall fix it there. Then what will be the remaining load? Because this generation output is fixed. So mean remaining load is pi p load minus pi mean, right? And what are the remaining generator? 1, 2.
1
Then
and 2.
I will not be there. I plus 1 to n. So n minus now, n minus 1 number of generator, n minus 1 number of solution we shall get, right? So in this way we shall proceed, right? So now if we go for numerical solve problem, then the cost functions are given, load is given. So you have to find out economic load schedule and incremental fuel cost. If you see only the solution, then it is very easy. Just incremental fuel cost will be equal, and summation of p's will be equal to 450. So at first we find out incremental fuel cost, make them equal, and summation of the generations will be equal to load 450. So from there we can solve it, right? It's no limit is given, so that means it has infinite limit, so we have no need to bother about the limit. Now if the limit would be given, let me see whether I have given any problem with the limit or not. Yes, okay. Then so this will be the generation, and this will be the incremental fuel cost. The unit of incremental fuel cost is rupees per megawatt hour, because unit of cost is rupees per hour. You are making DCDP, so P is in megawatt, that's why rupees per megawatt hour, right? Now another problem is given, that incremental fuel cost is given, load is given. Then you have to, it is written, also find out the economic load distribution and find out the saving in fuel cost due to its economic distribution instead of equal load distribution. So economic load distribution we can find out in same way. I am doing it first because you can do it, I think. So this will be the economic load schedule, right? Now if we do the equal, so incremental fuel cost will be same, that is rupees 5 per megawatt hour. Okay. Now if it would be the equal economic distribution, equally distribution, not economic, then 115 by 2, so 57.5. Now you see this incremental fuel cost is DCDP. So the change in cost will be integration of IFC to DP. Now we have to find out the saving in fuel. So there was 57 megawatt for equal distribution and 50 megawatt for the economic distribution, right? So what is the change? So 57 is for the equal, 50 for the economic. So if we get, then we are getting minus 289.5 for the first generator, right? Similarly for second one, you see for the for equal to 65, we are getting that it is 279.375. So it is showing you negative value, that means reduction in cost. But it is positive value, that means increment in cost. But overall cost, so total planned cost is reducing because summation of 279 plus minus 289, so minus 10. So minus 10 reduction is loss. So in that way, overall planned cost will be lower, but individual generation cost may be higher due to economic load distribution. Say then in that case 57.5 megawatt generation was better for the generator unit 2, but it was not good for the unit 1. So overall the distribution of 50 and 65 is better for both of them because overall plant cost is lesser. So this is actually the insight of the economic load dispatch. Another problem is that 3 generator system I have shown. So here the load is 250 megawatt and 3 generators ratings are given. So ratings are given means maximum generation possible is this one, 75, 100 and 120 for the 3 generation. And if the sometime minimum generation is also specific, say for a particular generator, it will generate 50 megawatt minimum, not the 0. Because actually 0 means the system has been shut down. So I think that theoretically it may be possible, but practically always there is some positive generation minimum limit. So the generation will be in run, but the input will be lower. So here nothing is given on lower side, so we shall assume that minimum value of generation as 0. So if we go for the economic generation schedule, you will see that it is 48, 76 and 126, right? So you see the upper bound of P limit is crossed for generator 3, 126, right? This part I have done as same as the earlier I have shown. Only there were 3 equations, now will be 4 equations. Now 126 will not be possible. Then it should be limited to the 120. So should be limited to the 120. If it is limited to the 120, then what will be the remaining generation? You must subtract from 250 to 120, then it will be 130. Then 130 will be economically distributed between generation 1 and 2. So 50 and 80, 130. So in that way. So here you see the incremental fuel cost or lambda will be same for the generator 1 and generator 2, but it will be different for generator 3 because generator 3 is not taking part now in economic load dispatch, but it is generating 120 megawatt. So in this way we use the economic generation schedule. This chapter is easiest, I think, and the problems are like this. For your case it will come up to 3 generator only, but how to impose the limit you should think. Say here, for example, here say when the limiting is 130, when 120 is it has hit the limit, so we have fixed it to 120, right? So remaining is the 130. So 130 is distributed in between this 50 and 80. Now it would happen so that this one, due to this 130, this becomes 78, and this become the remaining whatever, just 130 minus 78, whatever be the value. In that case, 78 would also not be possible because its limit is 75. So in that case, you have to limit it to 75. Now, if we limit it to 75, what is 75? 130 minus 75. That means here
55.
55. Then it was also be feasible, right? But in that case, it would not be the economic, right? Then all the generators are not in economic condition. The generation is possible, the load can be catered, but it will not be economic. So this thing you should think yourself and then do the problem. Understood? Okay, that's all for today. You write your roll number and name.